Congressman Jim Himes from Connecticut. He sits on the Permanent Committee on Intelligence, joins me now. Congressman, good to have you here. And let's talk about the Senate debate about the amendments to the original House bill. Many in the House, they don't want to see these amendments go through. So are you thinking that the House majority would find acceptable of what's taking place in the Senate?
Well, as you know, it's been years that we've worked on this bill, the USA Freedom Bill, which passed the House with strong bipartisan support a couple of weeks ago. And so it's been disheartening to watch first the miscalculation by Leader McConnell, which delayed them taking up the Freedom Act until this past weekend. And then, of course, all of the political grandstanding we saw on the weekend. I mean, this is very serious stuff we're talking about here in terms of, surveillance authorities, important reforms to the Patriot Act. So, these amendments are not amendments that I think are going to be well received over here on the House. They dial back the reform a little bit. It'll obviously be up to individual members to decide whether it dials back reform in such a way as to cause them to go from a yes to a no. So, frankly, my hope is that the amendments are defeated and that we can just take the bill as we passed it out of the House.
Meanwhile, again, there are these 4 different amendments that are being debated and discussed. So talk about the missing Sunday's deadline really affect national security. I mean, we've never gotten that close to the deadline concerning the Patriot Act. Certainly we've never missed it before, but just talk about the apathy in Washington to get this done.
Well, again, it was a disheartening thing to see because we're talking about very serious issues here. If nothing else, and our intelligence community and law enforcement have a way of keeping us safe regardless of the shenanigans on Capitol Hill. But the reality is that there was a period of time there where there was a great deal of uncertainty about who had the authority to do what. And the sad thing about that was that it was all because a relatively small number of people, and mind you, it was the leader, Mitch McConnell of the Senate, and of course Rand Paul, who's running for president. The reality is that if they just brought USA Freedom to the floor of the Senate, I do suspect it would pass, as it did here. So it's the kind of thing that doesn't send a terribly good signal to the rest of the world about how serious we are about matters which at the end of the day are life and death.
Connecticut Congressman Jim Himes, thank you, sir, for taking time for me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up next.